I am the Guji of the Grand Narukami Shrine. The purpose of my visit is to monitor your every move, for such is the order of the shrine. Oh, come on, don't be so nervous. It's only officialese, for goodness sake. I couldn't just go gallivanting around for no reason at all, could I? Now, come on, do something amusing for me. Traveling to other worlds is all that anyone seems to be writing about these days. Goodness knows what they find so disappointing about their own world. Most humans could have the entirety of their fleeting lives chronicled in but a few short lines. Their stories really make for terribly dull reading. Personally, I think the idea of things staying the same forever is quite beautiful. But alas, that is simply not the way the world works. If this rain keeps up, my fur will be dripping wet. Many people dread the sound of thunder. To me, it sounds fondly familiar. I always see these non-sentient kitsune pouncing headfirst into the snow, scavenging for food. You'd like to see me do that? Haha, I'm sure you would. Morning. You look awfully drowsy. Didn't you sleep well? Come on then, what is it? What mischief were you up to last night, what a headache. What should I have for lunch? Not fried tofu again. I'm in the mood for something a little lighter today. Oh, I know. I haven't seen the Yashiro Commission girl in a while. Let's get her to make us a little something, The moon is simply magnificent tonight. We mustn't squander it. Come, join me for a moonlight stroll. I won't take no for an answer. I suppose I should get some sleep. I must say, I do find it hard to doze off peacefully without the soothing sound of thunder booming in the background. Eternity means never having to let go of what you already have. But on the other hand, it also means giving up on all other possibilities. That's just the way of the world. No one can have everything. Humans are just fascinating creatures. That's why I'm so fond of them. They live such short lives, but for the time they're around, they shine as bright as the midday sun. There are some whose light never grows dim, even over great stretches of time. These are the lives that make for real page-turners. Boring. Utterly boring. Ugh, what could have possibly persuaded these people to become authors? Say, why don't you write out your story and submit it to Yae Publishing House? I'm sure that would keep me amused. I'm sure it would be a bestseller. Sealing yourself away from the rest of the world may only serve to accelerate the effects of erosion. Imagine a world consisting of you and you alone, with no one else to reflect you back at yourself. How awful that would be. Whenever we are together, it is vital that we always shine a light for each other, okay? It's rather difficult to remain enlightened in the dark. You're saying you like how I wear my vision? You certainly have an eye for a priceless treasure. Well then, I bet you'd like to pet it. Heat oil on a medium-high flame in a pot. Add the tofu and reduce the heat to a low flame. Cook until golden brown, take it out, then serve piping hot. There you have it, fried tofu. There's nothing more delicious in this world. Well, I've told you how to make it, have I not? Why are you still standing there? Though I occasionally get a little weary of the sight of it, I can't exactly avoid seeing it at the Grand Narukami Shrine after all. My fate is intimately intertwined with the sacred Sakura. Locking herself away in the plane of euthymia when she clearly wants to be out. It's just willful self-torture, really. On the other hand, it's also rather stubborn but cute, don't you think? The Yashiro rascal. He's always been an unpredictable one, even as a child. Don't be taken in by his warm smile. There's no knowing what devious scheme might be brewing inside his head. It's really quite maddening. What do you mean, sly as a fox? If you're trying to insinuate that he and I are anything alike, you are sorely mistaken. I'm very fond indeed of the Yashiro Commission girl. She adroitly handles every matter that comes before her. Unfortunately, it's often thankless work. Pity. Were she not a member of the Kamisato clan, I would have long since snatched her up for the Yae publishing house. Not the sharpest Tengu in the forest. She certainly didn't inherit the brilliant mind of Daddy Tengu, that's for sure. How shall I put this? I suppose being blunt and dispensing with tact has its own advantages. But I do hope that the next time she visits the shrine, she keeps to herself. I've got better things to do than answer her incessant questions about A. Naganohara fireworks are well worth the wait every year. Word is that she caused quite an uproar among the Tenryo Commission recently by setting off fireworks all over the place. I'm sure the members of the Kujo clan must have turned purple with rage. A pity I couldn't be there to see it for myself. Now that you mention it, it's been a while since I last saw Ganyu. Before the Sakoku decree came into effect, the two of us would often meet to discuss bilateral relations between our two nations. I always found her quite reliable. The next time you go to Liyue, take her some more fresh sea ganoderma for me. These divine priestesses seem to be getting cuter every generation. I wonder how she looks performing the dance of divine peace. Perhaps even little schools of fish swish around her while she spins. If she's ever looking for a more experienced head shrine maiden to learn from, I'd be quite happy to share a few tips with her. As long as she asked me nicely, of course. I thought it was a disaster waiting to happen at the time, but she insisted that she wasn't going to lift a finger against the object of her own creation. Had I known how things would unfold, I would have simply disposed of it without her knowing. What about now? Well, we're no longer waiting for the disaster to happen, are we? Ah, the oddball Oni. I hear that he's been quite a pain for the Kujo clan. The Tenryo Commission wanted to remove his messages on the bulletin board, claiming that they were harmful to public order. I made quite sure they stayed put. He's an entertaining character. You don't often see Oni like him in this day and age. He certainly has a beautiful tail, although mine's a little softer. Ah, yes, the little ninja child. If there's one thing she can do, it's stay hidden. Kano Nana constantly complains to me about it. Apparently, she now spends so much of her time searching for Sayu that she barely has any time to read anymore. If you ask me, I'd say that Sayu has a secret ally who is helping her hide all the time. I've heard a lot about Miyuki's little sister. Quite the character, I'm told. Although she comes from a family of shrine maidens, she's gone her own way in life. Tried her hand at many different trades, studied abroad in Liyue, even ended up joining the Arataki gang. Fascinating girl. Maybe I should have Miyuki introduce me. Yes, that'll work. Miyuki wouldn't dream of refusing my request. Oh, you'd like to know more about me? I'm willing to tell, but what will I gain in exchange, It has to be a fair trade. So you tell me all about you, and I'll tell you all about me. Deal? Kitsune Saigu said that she was going off on a long trip, and she's never been back since. At the time, I wasn't the least bit inclined to take on the burden of managing the Grand Narukami Shrine. So she told me that as Guji, I would be able to eat all the fried tofu I desired. As if that would be a convincing reason. That woman spoke so much nonsense, honestly. She could be so insufferable. I decided to found Yae Publishing House simply because I wished to read more interesting light novels, that's all. But it turns out that seeing frazzled authors scraping the bottom of the barrel in a desperate attempt to get their novels finished is where the real amusement comes from. You wouldn't believe some of the excuses they come up with when they're trying to get a deadline extension. Oh, so much more creative than the novels themselves. Though I'm an avid reader of novels written by others, I've yet to pick up the pen myself. Writing a novel is quite an undertaking after all. But if there comes a day when you reach the end of your adventure and want somebody to record it, And if I happen to have the time when that day comes, we'll see. My favorite pastime is reading other people's stories. My second favorite is watching other people squirm. If I could find a way to combine the two... Oh, that would be entertainment in its purest form. Peace and tranquility seems to be all the rage nowadays, but it gets dreadfully boring after a while. Have you ever heard of a dish called kitsune udon? It's quite simple, really. Just fried tofu served on top of udon noodles. What do you think? Noodles and fried tofu, that's all. Doesn't it sound heavenly? Anything that has been pickled is firmly off limits for me. I don't care whether it's medaka or kiviak. What sort of person can stand that vile stench? I, for one, am Guji of the Grand Narukami Shrine, and I refuse to defile myself by ingesting such pungent things. When training to become a shrine maiden, the title of Chokai is granted once one has completed their requisite studies and can correctly chant for ceremonies. This might be very straightforward for humans, but it's the most difficult step for the kitsune. We are only foxes, after all. The training required to become a Guji's assistant, or sekai, is arduous indeed. You must observe a myriad of harsh restrictions. There is only one way to make it through. Snack at night, and make sure you don't get caught. Attaining the rank of Meikai requires one to decipher the workings of the world, transcend its limitations, and fathom all phenomena within. Usually, any who reach this level are granted a vision and a lifespan far beyond that of the average kitsune. Throughout history, only the Guji of the Grand Narukami Shrine has ever held the rank of Jokai. It is an honorary title, not related to the capabilities of the holder. But of course, if I were to declare myself the most powerful Jokai in history, I don't see why there'd be anything wrong with that.